Welcome to Reddit Stories featuring I Do Work Here Lady. This thread may be familiar to you if you have had encounters with people who try to mistake you for a different person, like someone not working there. Let's start. First story is by Jeff7492 entitled Internship. English isn't my first language, so bear with me. This happened about 2 years ago. I work in a health insurance company in our country. I was in my mid 20s at the time. I'm an Asian dude and I'm only 5'7", and I look younger than my actual age. I supervise the field operations of our company in our area. One of my jobs is to personally check on our field employees on their assigned workplace 3 times a week. They are usually assigned to the hospitals partnered to our company. I always do my rounds on mornings before I went to the office so that I could work straight for the rest of the day. I usually arrive at the office about 1 to 2 hours later than other employees. We have like more than 10 interns at that time. One of them is this confident guy assigned to the reception. I wasn't formally introduced to most of the interns when they started because I always come to the office late and I only see this guy every time I enter the building because we don't really need interns in our department. So one day, after like a week, since this intern guy at the reception started, I came to the office after my field check, therefore I'm late. This intern guy, though, I was one of the interns and told me, WTF, dude, late again? You think it's okay to slack off because you're just. Our receptionist behind him quickly grabbed him before he could finish his sentence and apologized to me for the behavior of the intern, while the intern was very confused on why the receptionist grabbed him. I just smiled and nodded and proceeded to my office because honestly, I was also shocked and pretty awkward and introverted dude, and I don't really like confrontations. I was also informed that the same day, HR sent a letter to his school informing them that our office will cancel his internship program because of his behavior. And that was the last time I saw him. He didn't also apologize to me personally, and probably for the best because I don't really know how to respond to this kind of situation. Honestly, I think what the HR did was a bit overkill. I wasn't really offended of what happened, and I get it all the time where people call me kid because of how I look. I have to agree with HR here, regardless of your appearance or your stature in life. Blurting out WTF is the height of unprofessionalism. So it's good to know that your company had your back, and yeah, good on sending a letter to that intern school. That oh God, such behavior. Kids nowadays, they think they're hot stuff. Anyway, moving on to the next story. This is by Jean Grayson, Dead End Shortcut. In the early 90s, I was working at a cab company in a small city. Names have been changed. Our terminal was located in the middle of the block with a lot running from the alley in the rear to the street out front. We had parking for cabs up front and along one side, with 2 lanes for cabs in service. We pulled onto the lot from the alley and always pulled forward into the street. Cabs were dispatched out in the order they arrived at the lot. City ordinance was if we weren't actively going to get or had passengers, we were not allowed on the street. Yes, my city is a bit odd in some aspects. It was a bit of a slow day. When I get to the lot, there are 3 cars there already. Just after I pull in and stop, a guy in a brand new caddy pulls in next to me and he's on his cell phone. At this time, cell phones were fairly rare. Another driver pulls in behind me and the shift manager pulled in behind the caddy and stopped. We had all out of our cars and were chatting about various events. The manager, referred to as Bob, was still by his car, watching the guy in the caddy. Just as soon as Ken and the caddy got off the phone, he starts honking his horn and screaming to move the cabs out of his way. We look at Bob and he just shakes his head no. The Ken is screaming worse now, telling us how important he is and that we were stopping him from getting into a meeting that involved $1 million project. We looked at Bob and he explained to the Ken that it was a private lot and he should have paid attention to where he was going. The guy yelled at Bob, "It's an alley." Bob told him, "Since when does an alley have a gas pump on it?" and pointed to the pump we used to fill up after shift. The guy started yelling he was going to call the police and that he knew the chief. The owner of the company was a retired chief of detectives. Lol. Ken was told he had acted that had he acted reasonably, which he had not, that he would have moved our cabs out of his way. But since he wanted to be we gave him an attitude adjustment. My boss told him that since we leave the lot in the order we arrived, he would have to wait his turn. He grumpily said, "Okay," not knowing what we were fairly sure would happen on a beautiful day, which was not much. By the time he found himself in a position to be able to leave, he had been waiting for 2.5 hours. He missed his meeting. That's a good attitude adjustment. Lost business because, well, he chose to show and demonstrate, well, at least he tried to demonstrate he's an important person. Hey, nobody's too important for anything, okay? Unless you actually work in that place where you try to exert yourself as someone important. So, yeah. Next story is by Scratch Avatar. Never did live it down. A few years ago, I worked for an international courier company. The trucks were white, their uniforms include purple. Because they are technically registered as an airline, security is taken very seriously. I didn't work at an airport location, but we were all trained to look for security badges on everyone we didn't know. There are even posters all over, showing respectful methods of confirming that people are supposed to be there. But nobody thinks they're going to be in that situation. I was. My first day. Guy walks by, not wearing a uniform, no visible badge right by me. So I call out, "Excuse me, sir, may I see your badge?" He smiles, reaches under his sweater, produces the badge, and goes on with his day. The people around me just gape, and then they talk. That's how I became known as the guy who ID'd the general manager. Hey, that's good to know. I mean, what if it was a simulation all along and they took advantage of the fact that you were new and that they were testing you to check on everybody's badge, regardless of who they are? And maybe nobody told you who the general manager was, that or the general manager knew that you don't know him and just checked you can if you can ID him. Well, you did. So if it was a test, you passed the test with flying colors. Congratulations on you. Moving on. Next story is by Acceptable Processo, Process Zero. Mm, I hope I read that right. Entitled, "I have a ticket, but also I participated in your training." This story happened pre pandemic. I work at an entertainment venue that brings in tens of thousands of people for events. There are multiple ticket options from your standard ticket to premium and very premium options. I hold a senior level role that allows me to go into almost any area of the venue with my badge. Badges are color coded, and my badge is the rarest employee badge color. Some roles require badges to be displayed at all times. My role does not, but I do wear it sometimes and always show it to enter restricted areas when I'm working. I also do not wear a uniform. We do mass hiring to staff the venue, and when we do, we host training days where they have people in roles like mine come and talk to the new hires. I play a fairly large role in the training, so New hires see me several times and my picture is in some of the materials. To be clear, I do not expect seasonal employees to remember me, but most recognize me, even if they don't know exactly who I am. I was attending an event as a guest with a friend, not as an employee. I had my badge with me because the nature of my role means that I'm technically always working, but I was accessing the venue with my ticket, not badge. I had tickets to one of our higher level premium areas, and this happened not long after our mass hiring or trainings. I entered my ticketed area using my ticket. To get to this area, I had to show my ticket to enter the venue, and then two more times to get into the specific area. I noticed an employee watching me and my friend. We were just standing and chatting, not doing anything extraordinary. The employee kept walking by slowly and occasionally would stop someone else to gesture towards me as they seemed to talk about me. They were staring in my direction, gesturing towards me and talking to each other. Finally, the employee walked towards me and said, "I need to see your tickets." This is not how employees are trained to approach people they think are in the wrong area. I grabbed my ticket and extended it towards him. He rudely grabs it out of my hand, turns around, and starts walking away. He gets a couple of steps, stops, turns around, and hands them back and walks off while mumbling, "Thanks." Again, this is not at all how employees are trained to deal with this. I could have shown my badge and put a stop to the whole thing, but I wanted to see what was going to happen. Even though at this point he's verified my ticket, he continues to watch me, popping his head into our specific area, walking slowly by us while staring, etc. I couldn't figure out if he thought we didn't belong, fake tickets, or if he thought we would misbehave and damage the space. A little bit later, a manager in his reporting chain comes by and I point him out to her and let her know that I expect him to stop and he needs to be restrained. I guess she spoke to him because I did not see him again the rest of the night. He ended up being reassigned to a non premium area, which is the same pay but is generally considered a demotion. Well, this is quite an overkill, maybe, compared to the other story we had earlier in this video about security being a little too snoopy. There's Snoopy, not the dog. There's a level of snooping, and then there's just doing your job as part of security. And this story reeks a little bit of power tripping. It reeks of power tripping. I leave it at that. Thank you. So we already are at the end of our video. I would really appreciate if you would like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And I would be seeing you on the next video. Bye bye.